Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of Talking Bullion. Well, today I have another episode in my Junk Silver series, and we're going to talk about junk silver, or 90%, versus 999 silver. So junk silver versus silver bullion. Today we're going to dive into some details, so why don't we go ahead and take a look. Alright, as you can see, I got all this pretty silver in front of me. Got some American Silver Eagles, which are 999. Got some Buffaloes, which are 999. Got some rounds up here. Got some Talking Bullion rounds, which are poured by Backyard Bullion in the UK. And of course, we got our great old classic junk silver, US coinage from 1964 and before. Got a nice variety out here. So you might ask yourself, Talking Bullion, which one is better? Well, let's take a look at some pros and cons, and let's go through a little bit of a deeper dive into this stuff. First of all, let's discuss the difference between the 999 and the junk silver. 999, or 9999, or what is often referred to as 4 nines fine, is silver bullion. It can be coins, it can be bars. Now, I don't have any bars out here. I have a few bars, but I generally don't collect bars. I like the coin or the round type of silver myself. That's my preference. It can be shot. Now, shot is little BBs or pebbles that are used to make silver, and you'll see it. It comes in bags. You'll see it on a lot of the silver pourers. They buy it in a form that's easy to melt, and I don't have any shot because I'm not a silver pourer. Or it can be poured by individuals or even companies. So I've got some poured silver here as well. And I've got plenty of poured silver. Let's see if I might have one right here. Yep, got the old Baggins bar. Back when he was Silver Baggins. Number 19. Pretty nice bar. I also have a Coin Man 5000 bar. This is his first bar he ever poured. Love it. Now, Coinman 5000's kind of disappeared for a while. I saw he put out a video recently, and maybe one a few weeks ago. He used to have live pours, have videos out all the time. He used to be a really good resource to go to, so I'm sure that he's just busy in life and taking care of things. But yeah, we've got some other nice poured stuff. In fact, maybe I should leave this stuff on the screen, huh? Nice Coinman 5000 bar. You get that Baggins bar, and this is back when he was Baggins, not Dragons. Let's put it there just so it doesn't go off the screen. So yeah, so that's what silver bullion is. It can come in the form of coins or rounds. Here's some vintage stuff. I love my Three Stooges round. I bought that at a coin show, I don't know, quite a while ago now. Sunshine Mint, very popular round. This has got the security feature on the back. You can put a little card over the top of this, and it should show you, I think, valid or SSI or SMI or something, but it has a word pop in there. I do not have a decoder myself. I can just use my Sigma machine if I need to. And then again, the Talking Bullion rounds. All right, so that's kind of what 999 or silver bullion is. All right. So junk silver, or 90% silver, or constitutional silver, is any U.S. coin made from 1964 and before. Now, that's the 90% version. There is 40% version in JFKs that were made between 65 and 70. But right now, we're going to focus on the 90%. Now, this also includes silver dollars and Morgan silver dollars, but those are generally not considered junk silver. They are technically, but with my comparison, I'm really comparing the silver bullion to the 90% halves, quarters, and dimes. However, if you'd like to know more about the actual weights on the Morgans and the junk silver, check out my video, The Definitive Guide to Junk Silver, for more information. There's some great information out there. I'll put a screenshot up here for you to see, and I'll link a card in here. And why don't you check that video out? I've gotten some good feedback, and people have enjoyed it quite a bit. It's very informational. And I'll also put a description down below in this video as well. If you haven't seen it, you should definitely check it out. It's got some good information in it. All right. So one thing that always comes up with silver bullion especially, is it a good investment? And personally, and I think a lot of stackers would say the same thing, I don't think of it as an investment. It's a way of preserving my wealth, trying to keep up with inflation, and it's a really good savings account. But if I'm looking to buy this today and by next year make 20 or 30% off of it, that's not likely to happen. Now, could it happen? It could. Just this year alone, silver's gone up quite a bit. If you happen to buy in January or February and you're currently in the market to sell, you probably made a pretty good profit off it. But historically, that's not the case. And although silver shouldn't disappoint you long term, there might be some other diversification you might want to do if you're looking for, a good investment that's going to return more quickly than something like silver or even gold. We've all heard the story about a gallon of milk or a gallon of gas and what a silver quarter bought you back in 1964 and what it can buy you today. And and that shows you the example of how silver has maintained over inflation. So, for example, back in 1964, a quarter would buy a gallon of gas. Right now, a quarter would buy a couple gallons of gas. But I think that long term it stays pretty normal with the ratio of the gallon of gas to the gallon of gas. Right now, we're just in a unusual time with the pandemic going on and everything. But let me tell you something, silver and gold has kept up with inflation, whereas the dollar has not. So very, very important to maintain some wealth, in my humble opinion, of course. So this would probably be a good time to mention, I am not a financial advisor. Everything I'm giving you here is just my opinion. I would definitely do your research, but this is an educational video intended just for that, just for information only. So what has greater potential? Are you going to have greater potential on your bullion or on your junk silver? And the truth is, they both do. There are times when having silver bullion will be better, and times when having junk silver will be better. This is why I think it's important to have both. So right now, these American Silver Eagles, looks like that has a milk spot or a fingerprint mark on it. Can't see it on the camera, but I can sure see it. But right now, an American Silver Eagle is going for $33, $34. I think they've come down a little bit recently. And for anybody who bought them a few years ago and paid $16, $17 a piece, what's that? You're almost doubling your money. Rounds usually go for a little bit less. But again, because silver's gone up so much, you can get some pretty good money for them. But junk silver has also gone up, but generally the premiums are different. So right now you might pay $5 or $6 premium on this. And as we're recording this video, these have come down. These are up about $9 or $10 not too long ago. But junk silver tends to stay a little bit lower in the premiums. It was up about $5 over spot, and now I think you can find it around $3-ish. So this will always have a little bit bigger premium. Not always, but normally. Let's just say normally have a bigger premium than this. But what did you do when you initially bought this? You paid for the bigger premium as well, whereas you didn't with this. 99% of the junk silver that I've bought, I've paid spot or below for. And I cannot say that with an American Eagle. I think I only picked up one American Eagle below spot back when spot was about $16. And I found a kid online that sold me one for $15. But other than that, you almost always pay $2 to $3 if you're lucky over spot for this. Whereas this you can find for a good price. So that's why they're both important. This will be good because these are well known. You can usually get your premium back on them. Whereas this is also well known and you're not going to get quite a premium back on it, but people love their 90% junk silver. And it usually sells very well. In fact, when the pandemic first started, you could not find this anywhere. All the online bullion dealers were completely sold out. And that, I think, is good. We'll talk about that more later with the pros and the cons. Now, what about the generics? So this and this and this and this are all the same as far as generics concerned, but you might pay a little bit more based on what it is. Now, the Buffalo rounds are generally going to be about the same each time. Generic, nowadays you're going to pay a little more for them, but in normal times, paying $1 or less over spots about normal. But something like this vintage coin round, this is, you're probably going to pay a little bit more. Let me tell you a little story about this one. Let me see if I can put it under the coin cam. Adjust my filter again. Lost connection with my coin cam, but I got it back. I keep calling it a coin, but we all know it's a round. This round, I actually found a long time ago. Let me just pick this up for a second. Does this have a date on it? 1987. I found this when I took my son to a park. This was laying at the bottom of a slide. And at the time, I wasn't really sure. I knew it was, it says 1 troy ounce of fine silver. I knew it was an ounce of silver. But at that time, I wasn't stacking or collecting. I just took it home and threw it in a box. And so this was a pretty good find for when I found it. And yeah, I've had it all this time. So pretty cool, huh? Now the reflection from the light is not getting you the details, but anyway, 999 fine silver, A mark. It's interesting, it says 999 fine silver on both sides. One says pure silver, and one says silver. I don't know if I've ever seen a round that has it on both sides. But anyway, that's a pretty cool round. And this would probably pull a little bit more money because of, it being a little vintage. The Stooges one, I paid just over spot for that. But then somebody told me these are pretty good rounds and kind of hard to find, and they usually get pretty good money. I went home and looked on eBay. This was a while ago, and it was selling for about twice what spot was. So I got that for a good deal. So some of the bullion you'll be able to get more for. Sunshine minting rounds. These are rounds, but they're well known. I believe Sunshine Mint sells the rounds to the U.S. Mint for the ASEs, so they're a good company. So you might pay a little bit more for this than this. So they all have their own, possible little benefits or things going on with them. But overall, bullion is bullion, and junk silver is junk silver. And if you took these to, for example, a local coin store and tried to turn them in, frankly, for most of them, they'd probably just give you a spot or a little less for them. Most of the time, they're not going to be that concerned about, vintage or things like that. Now, they might. It just depends on what it is. But I would always count on it not necessarily returning its premium to a coin shop. But if you sold it on eBay, or let's say you found a huge Stooges fan, they might pay more for it. Or let's say you found a huge Talking Bullion fan. Maybe they'd pay you more for that, huh? Maybe? And of course, I got the big 3 ouncer that's usually sitting over here in the coin cam. I pulled this up so we could get it in there as part of the presentation today. All right, so let's talk about pros and cons. So for the 999 silver, here's some of the pros. It's pure silver. 999 is about as pure as you can get. So that's a nice pro. It doesn't have 10% copper in it like this does. It's pure silver. People love that. If you're going to have it melted down, they love that too. So that's a pretty big pro. If it's issued by a government, like ASEs, or there's plenty of others from different countries, it's usually well trusted and backed up. Now, some of it can be faked. Actually, all of it can be faked. So you have to be careful. But American Silver Eagles are backed up by the U.S. government for its purity and weight. And also, government-issued coins is recognized worldwide. These American Silver Eagles, there's really no place you couldn't go that wouldn't be recognized, and true with the other government bullion as well. So that's a big pro too, that you don't have to talk somebody into what you have, like something like this or something like this or something like this. Everybody would know. Mostly everybody who had any interest in silver would know what an American Silver Eagle is. And another pro is that you can get some really nice pieces of art by pourers who do some incredible things, such as Backyard Bullion. Beautiful, beautiful pour. Had that made in 2018. This is the only 3 ouncer. I bought it as a pocket piece. It's bigger and chunkier than I expected, so it's a little heavy for the pocket. It's got the stamps on it, indicating what it is, that it was hallmarked, what year it was hallmarked in, 999. So that's a beautiful piece of art. Now in the UK, they have to have it a hallmark. They have to send it away and prove that it's 999 silver. But America, the USA, does not require that. So this Baggins bar, says 999 fine silver on it, right in the middle there. But we have to trust that that's what's in there. He is not required to have this proved by sending it off and having it hallmarked. Same with Coinman 5000. He put in there that it's 999 fine silver. He stamped it on there. But honestly, we have no guarantee that it is. We just have to believe that the pour stamped it on there and it's correct. And we can check it. There's machines and there's ways to check and verify, but it's not required by law like in the UK. So I've kind of mixed in some of the cons along the way, but certainly one of the cons is these can be faked, and these are often faked. So you have to be really careful, buy from a reputable dealer or person or online or LCS, and just make sure you're getting what you're paying for. Milk spotting. Milk spotting is a big problem, especially with, the Canadian Maple Leafs used to be really bad until a few years ago. But if you look at the Britannias and some of the other ones, they suffer some pretty heavy milk spots. Does milk spotting necessarily kill the value? No, but I think it takes it away. I mean, it's still an ounce of silver. Here's a kookaburra I have sitting on my desk, just as a beautiful piece. I always like this one. This is from Australia. You can see Australia on there. Do we see any milk spotting on it? Maybe down around the $1 it's starting. But, that's one of the cons of 999 silver and 49 silver is that it can milk spot. And junk silver, as you can see, doesn't milk spot. It gets dirty. It's dirty from being handled, but milk spotting is not a problem with junk silver. And high premiums. We talked about this earlier. You will pay high premiums for all this stuff, even this kookaburra I just showed you. These you will have a hard time getting even close to spot. So you can buy the government-backed issued, but it's going to come with a cost. And to me, that's a con. All right, so let's talk about junk silver. Let's talk about the pros for that, for 90%. It has not been made since 1964. So since 1964, a lot of it's been sold, lost, melted, hanging out in old couches somewhere. But 1964 is a long time ago. What was that, about 56 years ago since this stuff's been minted? 56 years this stuff's been hanging around. And, I mean, that's the since 64. What about this 1900? Think about that. This Barber $50 is 120 years old. Let's give that some coin cam love, huh? Look at that thing. Is that cool or what? I mean, isn't that hard to believe? 120 years. It's got an old mint mark on it from New Orleans. You can see it below the tail there. This actually isn't in too bad a shape for a Barber half. They're normally quite a bit more wore than that. But yeah, huh? Get my fingers out of there. Nice. And you saw on the back of it that it said $50. All right. So pretty cool, huh? So yeah, haven't been minted since 1964. Another pro is it's well known. This U.S. coinage is basically recognized around the world. Everybody knows what U.S. coins look like. And therefore, you'd have no problem using it, spending it, selling it worldwide, I believe. So that's a pro for sure. Another great thing about junk silver is it's fractional silver. If you go out and buy a 1/4 ounce or a 1/10 of an ounce of silver bullion, you are going to pay really heavy for premium. Really heavy. Now it's kind of cool. There's some pretty cool stuff. A lot of people know on my live streams I give away the Monarch Precious Metals little steam train 10th ounces, which of course I pay good money for. But they're just so cool to have and look at. But ideally, you don't want to buy fractional silver and silver bullion. But junk silver is absolutely perfect, especially dimes. To me, dimes are your ultimate fractional silver. You can get, look at that, 1936. you get 14 of these to make an ounce. So it takes 14 dimes to make 1 ounce of silver. And that's why $1.40 of junk is said to be 1 ounce of silver. So you don't have to cut up a silver round or something else to get fractional if you need it for some reason. You can just use your junk. So $1.40, so I could take 2 quarters and 4 dimes, or I could take 2 halves and 4 dimes. It's all fractional. So junk silver, in my opinion, is your fractional silver, and dimes are your ultimate fractional silver. And that's the way to buy fractional silver, I believe. Do not buy fractional silver bullion. And then next is the rarity of it. So it has been made since 1964. You know, folks, one of my videos I'm working on is how much of it's been melted. I think you're going to be surprised to find out how much of the stuff has really been melted. It's been a lot. I think if people realized how little there is left, this stuff would cost a lot more. So I'm not trying to price myself out of it for any reason, but I am a believer that we just don't understand how little this stuff is left. And every single day, if you watch YouTube videos, go looking for them if you don't believe me. Every single day, dealers and other people are sending this stuff off to be melted. Every single day, this is still being highly melted. What I mean is a lot of it. Of course, nobody's ever going to know how much is left, because if you did a survey, who would tell them, right, how much you have? But I'm in the position that this stuff is much rarer than anybody even knows or wants to admit. But I got a good video coming out with some nice data attached to it, so keep an eye for that. Another great thing, which I mentioned earlier, is the low premiums. This stuff is not, you don't pay a whole lot over spot normally. Look at this beautiful 1920. That's 100 years old, right? No mint mark. The mint mark would be up over here. So it must be a Philadelphia. It would be a Philadelphia without a mint mark. 100 years old. So yeah, low premiums on this. You can pick it up at spot or below a lot of times. So even with the pandemic going on, I just picked up some Mercury dimes for $4 below spot per ounce. So it's out there, folks. Just do your homework and you can find it. And my last pro is it's rarely faked. In fact, I don't believe it's ever faked. The only things that are faked are key dates like the 1916 D Mercury dime. Other than that, nobody, takes the time to make a fake JFK or Washington quarter. So you can be 99.9% sure, even higher than 90% on the 90% silver. You can be 99.9% sure that if you're buying this, it's real. Unlike this other stuff where you just don't have that high of a percentage of guarantee. So you can feel comfortable and confident. A lot of people say, well, I don't buy from eBay because it could be faked. Well, I would say, your junk silver is not going to be faked. And if you're that concerned, eBay has plenty of companies and online bullion dealers selling on eBay. So it's a great resource, I think, to pick up junk silver for a good price. All right, so what's some cons of junk silver? I'm such a fan of it, you're probably surprised I even have some cons, right? All right, so one of the cons is it takes up a lot of space for storage. If you collect a lot of it, you're going to need a lot of space. Another con is it's very heavy. You pick up a box of quarters or a box of dimes or a box of halves, I'm talking about the guardhouse boxes now, where you got rolls of your quarters or dimes or halves in there. And like a box of quarters is very, very hard to lift. It'd be very difficult to pick up and go if you needed to quickly with that. So that's a con for sure. You are going to have a lot of weight now. Bullion takes up a lot of weight as well. But, junk silver has an extreme amount of weight with it. And my last con for junk silver is that a lot of times if you buy it, like if you buy a roll from APMEX of, let's say, quarters, they will almost always have slicks in there. What I mean by slicks is that they're really, really wore down. Like, really bad. Like, this is a slick, but not too bad for an SLQ. But by slick, I mean that a lot of the design has been worn off from use. So obviously with that, there's going to be some silver loss. So that is one of the cons, but if you use 0.715 in your calculation for how much silver is in every dollar of junk silver. It compensates for that wear, and overall you will win out on that. That's at 0.715 is a nice compensation, and I found with all the junk silver that I bought that almost all of it overall weighs more than that. So I get a good deal on it, even better than I think. So how about a little story time? I read an article a while back, which will be part of a future video, that talked about when silver went up to almost $50 in the 1980s. One other thing that caught my attention was that the smelters, the places that melt the precious metals, gave more money if it was 999 bullion. They also had an immediate turnaround time for receiving the funds. Why? Because with 90%, they had to take the time to separate the metals, and they were looking for a way to quickly get it in, melt it, and turn it around and ship it back out. So with the more effort, they were paying less and saying it could take weeks to get the funds. I guess that makes sense if you're trying to turn stuff around really fast. So what does that mean? That does not mean you shouldn't be collecting or stacking junk silver. I say you should be stacking both, because you're never going to know what the scenario is. The real deal is we have no idea what the situation will be, and what we've seen through this year in 2020, I believe that anything can happen, even things we never thought were on the table are on the table. We just don't know. Nothing would surprise me at this point, so be prepared. Have this, not just this, but I believe if you can, you should stack a little gold as well. Because again, we just don't know what the future is on this stuff and where it's going. I would say the best thing to do is to stack a little bit of everything and diversify in your stack. And then one more thing to consider, and I have to say again, there will be a fantastic video coming out about this for me. There were a ton of common dates melted during certain events in the past, a ton of common dates on the junk silver. And it is possible, and again, we'll talk about it in another video, that the common dates are now key dates, right? Because everybody held the key dates back then and melted the common dates, and there's a few different dates we can talk about. But what if the common dates are now key dates? Think about that, ponder on that for a while, and we'll talk about it sometime soon. Okay, so after all this, what should you focus on? What's your strategy here? Well, whatever it is, just make sure you're buying something. Now, if you can't run out and afford $10 of junk silver, try to buy a round every week. Try to buy an American Silver Eagle every month. Try to buy something. Save your money. Get yourself a generic round. Just buy something each month. You'll be surprised how quickly it adds up. Throw it in your drawer, and before you know it, that drawer is a little heavier when you try to open it because of the silver that is piling up in there. For me, junk silver, silver bullion, generic rounds, government-issued rounds or coins, I'd buy it all. I'd get a little bit of it all because, again, we just don't know what the future brings. If I had $1,000 in my savings account and I could afford to move it, I would probably spend, and it really depends on the deals I could find and where I was looking and what was available at that moment. I would buy primarily junk silver, spend half of the money, $500, on some junk silver. Now, that's not face value. That's how much you're paying for it. Then I'd probably spend another $300 on American Silver Eagles or some government-issued bullion. I prefer American Silver Eagles because I live in the great USA. Then I'd spend the rest probably on some generic silver, get some Buffaloes or some Sunshine Mint rounds, whatever you feel like. Now, depending on the cost of the Eagles, it might cost you $330 to get 10 Eagles. I might buy half a roll and buy 10 of them and then use the rest for the generic silver. But I'd take that $1,000 and I'd buy a little bit of each, right? The junk silver, the government issued, and the generic silver. And it would be a great start for you to go. Now, if you want to go back into my archive on YouTube, you'll see I did a video on if I had $1,000, what would I buy? And that was a good video. I think a lot of people watch that video, but that was back when silver and gold were quite a bit cheaper. And I believe in there, I said junk silver, government issued like American Silver Eagles, and also some gold. I think $1,000 at that time would get you gold as well. So yeah, if you haven't seen that video, check it out. In fact, why don't I put a card here for easy access, then I'll also put a link in the description. So I hope that helped. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm planning to continue on the series of junk silver. I've got a lot of good topics to talk about, and I think that you're going to enjoy. So thank you for watching, and always remember, let's keep talking bullion.